pain
do.
is necessary in life. Like this is pain. This pain is never gonna go away. I'm gonna carry this pain until I die. But this pain is gonna become fuel. Like I'm turning this pain into fuel. I'm turning this pain so I could find the gift. Because unless you find the gift in the pain becomes suffering. This is the God, Money, and Sex podcast. My name is Raul Velasquez, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host,
Vivian Velasquez.
And it was good that we actually had this pattern interrupt, that the systems went down and we couldn't do this live and we had to start all over again, because I was saying this is probably one of the hardest podcasts that we've ever done because we've had a rough month. And those of you who have been following us, thank you. I appreciate you all, your prayers, all your good thoughts, because we did have a major catastrophe happen in our lives, and we wanted to jump back into this podcast.
And we weren't even sure how to do it. And I think it was great how you said it was like honoring our rhythm of like where we are in life, because a lot of the things that we do is, whether it's through teaching or whether it's the podcast or whether it's like our Instagram lives. Like I know I wasn't on social media for like a whole 2 weeks. And it's because we had such a major loss. If you are listening or you're following us, you saw that I lost my father-in-law. Raul lost his dad. And yes, it was a major impact. It was something so unexpected. It was something that hurt us so much. It kind of like just took everything from underneath us and just brought us down to our knees.
And I think that the topic for this podcast would be how to heal from a catastrophe like this. How do you heal? And although we don't have all the answers, although we're still going through our process, and one of the main things that I think that we're getting out of this is that the fastest way for you to heal is to share your pain, share your story, share the struggle that we're going through, because I don't want for you to think that everything is perfect in our lives. Our lives are just as normal as the ones that you are going through, and even though we may put our stuff out there online or through our podcast or through our content, at the end of the day, we are human beings and we feel the pain, especially when you lose somebody as close as my dad was to me.
To all of us.
And I think it's very important for us to know that this is going to happen to every single one of us. Like, we are not immune to loss. We're going to lose a parent. We're going to lose brothers. We're going to lose people in our lives. And we have to learn how to deal with it. We have to learn how to experience the pain and at the same time find the gift. So if you listen to us, just make sure that you comment where you're hearing from us. You comment where you're connecting with us. You comment, what you're getting from this podcast. And if you're listening to us live in Facebook, we'd love to interact with you. If you're listening to us in YouTube, just follow the channel. And if you're listening to us through podcasts, just thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And one thing that has gotten me through this hard time has been my family and the prayers from people like you, the prayers and the good intention and the good energy that people like you are sending us to go through this healing.
Yeah.
So
it's been an amazing overpouring of just so much love. And I think a lot of the times, like as we're going through this, the healing process is such a journey that gets us closer to God. And, this podcast is God, Money, and Sex. And right now, like, God for us has been like the pillar of our life, especially like in this situation, right? So like then we go back to like the promises of healing that God has for us, and the promises that he has in the Bible. That it's not just any book. It's like a book that is full of promises and so many beautiful things. And it's like, we got to go back to that. Because if we just rely on our feelings of what we're going through right now, then it's like we could get lost. We could wallow in our pain, and we could become like, we could go into like this victim mentality of like, why did this happen? Or why did he have to die? Like all these things. But it's like, if we go back and then we start to ask those questions from a place of love, then I think we see that message come through so much clearer.
I think for me, is this experience has gotten me closer to my family. Has gotten me closer to
you see the unity.
Even think about the legacy that I want to live, because those of you guys who know my dad had muscular dystrophy, and my dad was in a wheelchair, an electric chair for the past decade. And looking back after he passed away, looking back at all those pictures, looking back at all the memories, I mean, we really, truly enjoy our time together. Yeah. I mean, if one thing that stands out from my dad is that he was a pillar of strength. And I think that a lot of people, we think that we have to be these big celebrities or entrepreneurs or make an impact and impact millions of people for us to make a difference. And the biggest impact that my dad made on my life is just the fact that he was there fighting through his disease, his sickness, standing in who he was. And I ever hardly saw him complain. Yeah, there were some issues. Everybody has issues. My dad wasn't perfect, but through his imperfection, he showed me that you could still fight. You could still be with your family, even though he was in a wheelchair. He couldn't stand up, he couldn't walk, he couldn't dance, he couldn't do many things that a lot of us would take for granted. What he represented for me as beyond just a father, it was more of a authority figure of what it's like to be persistent, what it's like to feel strong, what it's like to not to have to give up on life.
That's beautiful. Yeah, something that I really admire about your dad, it was, as we're sitting in this funeral, the wake that we had for him, and strangers that kept coming up and saying, like, he must have been a really loved person. Because a lot of the times, like, at our deathbed, then we get to see like how people feel about us, and maybe like a lot of things that were not said that people come up and say about you. So I think like that, like I was trying to like sit back and like see all these gifts that your dad has given us and will continue to give us. And that was one of them. It's like that I could sit there and I could hear people, some were strangers from just the outdoors, from like the guy that was leading the funeral home. He just kept saying to me, he was like, he must have been a really loved man. Mm-hmm. And I could like sit back and say like, yes, he was he was so loved, he will be loved. And then it made me think like how we live our life on daily basis, like who your father was is like he spread love every single day. Just because he was sitting in the chair, it didn't stop him from like having this smile on his face, or something that he did that we could all do, we could learn from, is sending, whether it was a text or a call or a message or whatever it was, like he did it on a daily basis. So like for me, that was like, oh my God, that's something that like I could do. And we all have that power to do that. Like it's not just the celebrities, like you say, or someone that has like a big influence. Like who can you say hello to? Who can you send a little heart or a little emoji to someone? It's like it doesn't take a lot. And that was so beautiful for me to like sit back and to see that and observe like, yes, you could do so much with just like one little.
It was amazing because I used to think that he used to send me those messages through your text or through Messenger. He used to send me like a prayer or a clip from another video. Or I used to think that he was sending me only to my brothers and to me or
to
you,
the family,
to the family. But what we found at the funeral is that he was sending it to hundreds of people. And my dad wasn't a sophisticated man. He didn't have a funnel. He didn't have a text app. He was doing it, one by one. He was probably praying for them and sending them a good intention. So it wasn't about just a chain message.
Yeah.
It was an intentional message. And I think that the biggest thing that we could learn from that is that you don't have to have a huge following. You don't have to have a big business. You don't have to be a celebrity to make an impact. You could be, there's so many people out there that just need a good message, a thought, a prayer, or just you reaching out. And I think that that's how we could use the power of social media. That's how we could use the power of this community to just check in with each other, just to send good love, a good energy with each other. Because if you can't do that for other people that are in your immediate family,
I was gonna say that start with your family.
Start with the people around you. Start with, because you can't do that with people, the small circle. How can you expect to do it in the big picture, in the big circle?
Yeah. So now just thinking ahead of like, what we're going through, and, for us, like God is such a big foundation, and because of him and because of the family members, we've been able to like just cry it out. And I think a lot of the times, like, I think of people that are going through this stuff, especially like in this time of like the holidays, and you feel whether you don't have a parent or a brother or a sister or somebody has passed that is very dear to your heart. It's like, how do you deal with the loss, and how do you deal with like that feeling of emptiness? Because it's what you feel. It's like somebody just took part of you, and it's like, how do you fill it back up? And I mean, I know that like we could share a little bit, like we have a ritual that we do in the morning. And I think that's one of the major keys that has helped us and will help us to heal through this process. It's like, if you try to pretend that this maybe rage or this anger or this anxiety or this emptiness, this sadness is not there, then you're lying to yourself. So like how can we help you to go through what we've been through and just give you like a little bit of an insight, is actually making the time on a daily basis. In the morning, we think it's best because that's like how you start your day. It's how you finish. Have the time to go through these feelings. Have the time to acknowledge that part that's like so vivid, right? And then try to find the gift behind it. And I know sometimes that's the hardest part, but there's always a gift behind the pain. And then also like go back to God's word. Like, you know, I've been praying over and over like our family, because we need this like a replenishment, because we were so depleted from the pain. And it's like, it's only through him that we could replenish, that we could feel like, okay, help me believe again. Help me believe that this was for a reason. And one of the beautiful, beautiful promises is what I tell my kids is like, the people that die here on earth, is like they'll get to see Jesus first, because they'll get to wake up and see him. And what consoles my heart is like, I'll get to see him again with a new body, now with the body that he had here on earth, because those are one of the promises that God has. It's like, we'll get to see him again with his smile, with his brand new body, with, you know, just God's grace just coated over him. And that just brings so much joy back to my heart.
To me, as you know, I was shocked at the beginning. I couldn't believe it, you know, because it happened on Thanksgiving
Day.
Evening. It was Thanksgiving dinner. He had a stroke. He had a seizure, whatever it was, and they took him to the emergency room. And on the way there, I was telling Vivian that I felt already. I already had a feeling. I already felt like, okay, this is going to be bad. And I thought because of his disease, because of what he was going through, like it wasn't gonna end up getting better. Like if anything, he was gonna get worse. Yeah. So on the way there, the family got together, and when the doctor came in, she was like, "This is serious. Like he's unconscious. He's, you know, we're trying to bring him back." And he brought my mom and brought my sister, my brother to see him, and you know, they seeing the way that they were working on him. It was like 6 different doctors. That right there, at that moment, I knew that there was a small chance that he was gonna make it, and something that came over me. I think I know for me, when I'm in those situations and I look at the patterns now, like looking back and like seeing what, you know, how I show up and what did I do, is I truly kind of like, I don't feel the pain at that moment. I don't feel it. For me, it was more like, okay, we gotta protect like what's going on. We have to protect the family. And I know my mom, my sister, at that moment, they were hysterically crying because they couldn't believe it. And then my brother and I mean, I drove from my brother's strength. My brother was such a strong man. I mean, I knew like inside he was crumbling, but between him and I think we just held the space. Yes. Held the space for everything just to happen that was supposed to happen. And then seeing that energy, that masculine energy from my brother, and then masculine energy from me holding the space for the women who were hysterically crying in there, we were not trying to deflect. It was more of, okay, we understand that there's a catastrophe going on. We understand there's pain going on, but we also have to protect. And then the moment that I saw my dad open his eyes and try to fight to come back to life, that's the moment that for me inside, it was like, it was like a fire started. It was like a fire that it was like, man, this man is fighting for his life. This man is fighting to come back. And I saw him pushing. It was like, and I kept on talking to him. Like my brother kept on talking to him. Their family kept on talking to him. So like, as I look back, his death for me was kind of like the last fight, the last battle, because he did this for over 15 times. I mean, the doctors came out and said they'd never seen anything like it, a man coming back to life over and over again. And as I look back, it was kind of like the spiritual world fighting with the mind. It's like the spirit and the soul wanted to go. I said, okay, we're done here. You feel your purpose. You don't have nothing else to do. Like you have this legacy, but then the mind wants to keep us here, and the mind and the body's already given up. And I was able to physically see the battle, physically see the inner battle that we fight, because I believe that's the fight that we have every single day, which is the mind, the body, and the soul. And what my dad did for me at that moment, it was going to give me the last lesson that we are spiritual beings, that we got to follow our soul, that we, no matter how determined we are, no matter how strong we think we are, eventually we're going to leave this world, and whatever we do now, you better make it count.
And his soul already knew that it was time for him to go.
Yeah.
Oh, but
yeah, and the next morning is when it hit me when they said that that he passed, when he took his last breath. That's when I went to the bathroom and I just fucking broke down. I just broke down. And I don't think you were there yet. You weren't
no,
there
I was
yet.
not there. It was all a shock to me, and maybe it was better that I wasn't there because it was just too much for me to handle. I feel like I never really, the passing of your grandfather was really big for me because he taught me many lessons. But with your dad, it's like he was always there for us. He was always there for me. He welcomed me into your home 20 years ago, and always with that smile. So it was a lot for me to bear at the moment. But your dad has always been a person that has given us so many lessons. And, like I said to you before in a video, it's like you get to live that legacy. Like it still lives through you. And I think that's a beautiful part of it.
And the thing for me is, how do you recoup from that?
Yeah.
And I kept on thinking as an entrepreneur, like, fuck, like, how do we come back? How do we operate? Like the next day I had a mastermind call. The next day I had
Did you
interview.
take one?
Had a podcast interview.
No, you didn't.
And part of me wanted to do it. Part of me was like, I'm gonna fucking show up. I'm gonna break through. But I emotionally couldn't do it.
You have to honor yourself too.
And that's the part. Like I think as men and any man that's listening to it is like, we gotta fucking honor the pain. I know we think sometimes like I think I'm a machine. I think I could fucking push through.
Yeah.
But I had to reschedule a cancel and I had to be with that emotion. But one thing that I didn't stop doing is I didn't stop sending my clients, the brotherhood that we created, messages.
Yeah.
And I sent the first message when I told them what had happened. And I listened to that message. I hardly, I don't listen to my own messages sometimes. Like I do this podcast, I send messages, but I don't like to listen to my own content, mainly because I'm my worst critic. I'm like, fuck, I should have done this. I could have said this better. I could have, I'm always trying to improve. But this particular message, I listened to it over and over again. And it's because the things that I said, I know it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from almost like my dad was speaking to me. And I said in that message that my dad had to leave because he already told me everything that he could teach me in this world. And he had to leave because he had to teach me in the spiritual world. And that's the biggest lesson. That now he has to become a spirit to guide me.
And he will always be there to do that for you. And when we lose someone, I think that's when like it stretches us, like the capacity for us to like come back, the capacity for us to like let in these lessons and be okay with them. Like that is a stretch. That is a stretch. But the beautiful part about this is like you weren't alone. Yeah. Because you had your brothers that were there from the brotherhood. You have your family. You have
I don't know how I'd be able to fucking operate if I didn't have the support system. I think. Yeah. So thank you for every single one of it. I know this is a live feed. We can't cut to commercials, but I wouldn't be able to operate if it wasn't for the support system. Like fuck, like my family, my aunts. Like my mother is a fucking strong woman. Yeah. Like my grandmother, like all these women that I'm around, and then the brothers, my brother, my cousins, like every single person that's in our life that was affected by this, like we all stepped up our game and supported each other. Yeah. And the impact that this has created is really put a new fire, a new sense in me as well, because I don't want to live with regret. I don't want to live. And we were thankful and grateful enough that the day before he passed, we went to see him. Yeah. Like, went to see him and we spent a great evening together. And my kids got to see him, had to hug him. And we pretty much got a chance to say goodbye. But at the same time, like, we need to remember that we're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised like next year. Like, especially now that we're hitting the holiday season. Like, if this was your last holidays that you're going to spend with your family,
how would you do it?
How would you want to be remembered? Are you going to be fucking remembered by going and buying all these presents and spending time with and getting stressed out? Or are you going to be present with your family and giving them the love that they deserve? And I think that's one of the messages that's coming through right now is just don't take this opportunity for granted. We're hitting the holidays. This is about getting together and finding the community and sharing, time together. It's not just about the presents. It's not just about like spending money. And sometimes we commercialize so much this holiday that we forget
until
like
something happens.
Until this shit happens. Something like this happens. Like, look, we haven't even bought any presents. So if you're part of a family, you're not getting presents this year. If your kids, you listen to this, you're not getting any presents because, I mean, at the end of the day, now we have a bigger present, which is
to be present,
appreciating
the
family, appreciating like the gift of life.
Yeah. And I think sometimes like these things, just like pain, just like discomfort, like things like this hit us in our heart, and then it allows us to grow and allows us to see things with a different perspective. And it takes something like this for you to see life sometimes, and that's a gift in itself.
And it's never gonna go away. The pain. People ask me, Raul, how you operate and how you because I'm back again, and I'm doing the things that I know that I need to do, and
because it make you happy.
Pain is necessary in life. Like this is pain. This pain is never gonna go away. I'm gonna carry this pain until I die, but this pain is gonna become fuel. Like I'm turning this pain into fuel. I'm turning this pain so I could find the gift. Because unless you find the gift on the pain becomes suffering. And I think one of the main things that when we have a major loss, we have to embrace the pain. Don't hide from the pain. Don't sedate the pain. Don't try to manage the pain. Feel the pain. Feel the sadness. Feel the emotion. And then just feel it. Ask yourself, what can I do with this pain? How can this become power? How can this fuel me so I could become a better man, a better woman, a better leader, whatever it is, whoever's listening to this, if you're going through a tough time, if you're going through pain, God will never give you more than you could handle. Like your spirit is stronger than even what your body is. Your spirit is stronger than your mind. So don't ever take that for granted. Like there's parts of you that you might want to quit. There's parts of you that you may want to give up. Maybe your business, maybe your marriage, maybe your health, but you're breathing right now. You're alive right now. And part of it is the blessing. And if you're listening to this, it was meant for you to listen to this. So as we go into this holiday season, don't take for granted the gift that you have, which is you're being here with your family, you being here in this earth. Be a blessing to somebody right now. Be a blessing to the people around you. And remember, we're all going to die one day. It's how you live that fucking matters. That's
right. That's so beautiful. Enough said.
And with that, we're going to close it out because I think that's enough. That's all we can do today. That's all we can do today. And we're going to continue to push forward. And we'll see you close to the end of the year.
Yes.
And if I ask you one thing, if you have a parent, if you have a father or a mother, just hug him extra tight today, or in the holidays, just kiss him, because you never know if it's going to be the last time that you see him.
And if you don't have a parent, if you lost a parent, just allow that memory to remind you of like what you maybe need to do or say, because you've already lost someone. Because there's a lot of things that sometimes are unsaid or undone. But just allow that memory to just give you that power, those words to just come out and be said.
Yeah. And remember, the best is yet to come. It's up to you to make it happen. Yeah. An amazing holiday time.
Yes.
Follow us everywhere. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Follow us everywhere except for our bedroom. So we keep it private. Learn it, live it, experience it.
Love life.